This morning, there are new developments in the Trump administration's push to reshape the federal government. Another department is now facing scrutiny from Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
NBC News has learned that the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Michelle King, stepped down over the weekend after she refused a request from DOGE to access sensitive data of millions of Americans at the agency. That is according to two sources familiar with the situation. Well, the White House later confirmed that King was no longer head of the agency.
NBC News White House correspondent Aaron Gilchrist joins us now. Aaron, let's start there. What are we hearing from our sources, also from the White House, just about this resignation? And just tied to that, what's the information that DOGE is looking for here?
Well, Joe and Savannah, good morning. The Social Security Administration is in charge of managing payments for more than 70 million Americans. We know that President Trump has promised not to cut benefits from that particular agency as they're doing this work across the federal government to make cuts. One of the sources familiar with King's resignation in particular said that some of the information involved here in this dispute included bank information, Social Security numbers, birth dates, and in some cases medical records as well. King retired instead of giving up that information. She refused to let Musk's team access those sensitive government documents. Again, that's according to two sources, and the White House has confirmed that she is no longer the person in charge of that agency. We know that the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, gave an interview last night where she talked about this, and she said that the president has directed DOGE teams to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. There was an anecdote from Elon Musk last week when he spoke in the Oval Office where he said that there was at least a case where someone was collecting Social Security benefits who was 150 years old. So that sort of offers an example of what they describe as waste in that agency. Leavitt did say that his team has not dug into the books just yet, Joe and Savannah, but they do expect that they will find some waste and potentially fraud at the Social Security Administration.
Aaron, all this comes as mass layoffs across the government are continuing. We know nearly 300 employees at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, have been fired. We're also learning that the Department for Homeland Security is planning to fire hundreds of senior leaders this week. What can you tell us about all this?
Yeah, I spoke with the FAA union yesterday, and I understand that there were about just under 300 of their members who received these termination letters over the weekend, and they were talking about people who work as maintenance mechanics, environmental protection specialists, aviation safety specialists. The union president there expressing concern that this is going to mean an overloaded workforce is going to be even more overloaded as some of these positions have been cut. And this is an agency where people have already been stretched thin. At the Department of Homeland Security, our understanding is that the administration is about to cut some of these top positions, these people who've been in career positions for a long time at the agency, high-level folks. They're getting ready to get rid of them at some point this week because they don't really align with the administration's goals for the Department of Homeland Security and the many agencies that are a part of that particular department. This source said that the Trump administration has a centralized plan and a list of names that it intends to work with to make these cuts across that agency. And these are not folks, we understand from one source, who have job performance issues or who are being cut as a result of an effort to downsize that agency. This is people who simply are not aligned with what President Trump wants that agency to be doing, Joe and Savannah.
And Aaron, on this President's Day, we saw a lot of pushback and protests to President Trump, right?
You're right. There were protests across the country to what DOGE and its team members are doing across the federal government. We saw this happening in many cities. You see an example here in Atlanta. I want you to hear what some of these folks are concerned about. One of the people we talked to, I believe, was in Washington, D.C. Listen.
I'm worried about the power that Elon Musk has been given without any kind of election and kind of running over everybody. That's a big concern. I'm worried about, I have a lot of family and friends that are federal employees or depending on grant money to do research, so it's impacting me personally.
So, Joe and Savannah, conversely, I think it's worth pointing out that there are people who support what President Trump is doing and what Elon Musk is doing to downsize the government, to identify, as the president has said many times, waste, fraud, and abuse. And they think that these cuts have been long needed. Guys?
All right, Aaron, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.